Okay, gang. I'm not great at making these kind of videos, but I ran into some problems here that many of you are probably facing the same problem, because the engineering on this is actually incredibly horrible for cars that are in the wintertime in the snow and the salt areas of the country. But what I'm working on here is a BraunAbility 2017 Chrysler Pacifica with the handicap ramp. And most of you who are familiar with this know that there's a kneeling system that draws the body down to the suspension, so it takes the ramp, the steepness out of the ramp lower, so the wheelchair can go in and out. It takes the pitch out of the ramp. So what has happened here is the kneeling chain, which this is hard to do with one hand. Now I'll take this out of here. That roller right there is what the chain rolls over. This chain set up where it comes over that roller and it broke. Okay, so it comes over that roller when the motor that pulls that chain in comes up. The other part of the chain's down in here. Yeah, it's hard to see, I don't have a light on this. The other part of the chain's right down in there. You can see that I've taken the piece of chain out of this, and I'll tell you why I did that. That chain, to replace that chain from one of the BraunAbility distributors, is $385. The chain's a little over 2 foot long, I think it is. And they want $125 labor to install it. And they told me at the dealership where I have to go, which is 100 miles from here, it's going to be $125 an hour and 2 to 3 hours labor. Well, for a kneeling chain, a little piece of chain, that sounds like an awful lot of money to me. So I went ahead and done some research, and the chain, there is the replacement chain for this, is called leaf chain. You'll see that there's no way sprockets running that or anything. It's a lifting chain, mainly used for like forklifts and that kind of thing. But you can see there's multiple links. He's trying to get that apart there so you can see there's actually 4. I'm not doing so well with this. There's actually 4 links there together. So this chain is called leaf chain, and the size of this particular leaf chain on this particular Braun car, and I know that some of them are different because the last car we had was a 2014 minivan, a mini Chrysler Grand Caravan, and that chain actually went straight up and down. And what happened with that chain is it set up straight up and down, and when the car took a bounce on a bump, it broke the switch above it, and that was over $400 to replace that one. So all this being said, they've told me keep that chain lubricated all the time so it don't set up. Well, I've done that. There's a ton of never sees on this, and most of it didn't set up. It set up around this roller, which also, if you see down in there, is all rusty and stuff, and I've tried to keep that lubricated. That rusts up. Again, the engineering on this is incredibly terrible. I personally would say, why not put an air ride system on this? You know, you can protect the air ride from the winter elements by putting it in compartments and keeping it out of the winter. So anyway, This chain is extremely hard to find, I have found. It cost $2 and roughly 50 cents or $2.25 a foot. So I was able to order 2 feet of this, and I'm only going to need about that much of it to replace that section. So I thought, I can replace that. This is the master link, or connecting link they call it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this, or what you do is you grind off one end of that rivet, and then you pull the link apart. So when you put the new link in, I've already done that on one end of this chain on the car, and I've got to do it on the other end. This particular chain is called AL444. Now, AL stands for American Light. The chain that came off it, the manufacturer of the chain was called Pier, P-E-E-R, Pier. And all it said on the link was Pier AL. It didn't give me a size. So I wound up finding the chart of how this chain is all measured and figured out that this is AL444. Now, to get this chain, if you go directly to a manufacturer, most of them say you've got to go to our suppliers. And most of them, from what I found, sell it in 10-foot lengths. Now, if you figure that up at $2.25 a foot or whatever it is, it starts running into some real money. It's in the $300 range or whatever. So I found this particular chain is called Tsubaki. And I got it, you can see right here, I got it from Applied Industrial Technologies in Syracuse, New York. Now, if you can find a supplier near you, and it's usually going to be an industrial supplier. There's one called Cayman Bearing that's up here in the Northeast. There's some different ones. If you're at all mechanically inclined, you can do this and save yourself some money. With 2 master links, there's the other master links, and 2-footed chain, and they charge me $25 for shipping. I'm into it in the $80 range. And the other thing that I found out by talking to somebody who knows about anti-seize and that kind of thing, I've been using the wrong anti-seize. The anti-seize I've been using is, is the Permatex anti-seize. Now, I'm been told that has aluminum in it, and that will collect the grime off the road and actually cause it to set up. So the lubricant, the anti-seize that you should be using, according to this professional that I talked to, is the copper anti-seize, or never seize, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and shorten this chain. I'm not going to go through a video showing you how I do it. I'm going to shorten this chain, put it back together, and if everything goes right, as I think it will, I should be good to go. So I hope this helps you guys. I know with these vans, BraunAbility is very secretive, you can't buy anything from them direct. Everything has to go through their suppliers, their shops, and everything you touch on these things is at least double what it costs for a regular car. And these cars are a lifesaver for people, and most of us know the people who are handicapped using them can't afford, don't usually have a lot of money. They're disabled. For my family, this has been a godsend. At the same token, they can be a nightmare, and they can be extremely expensive. So when I can find a shortcut like this, I don't mind sharing it with somebody, and I hope this helps you. Take care, everybody.